This video is an overview of the element of art called space, which we define as a three-dimensional volume that can be empty or filled with objects, and it creates a sense of depth. So that sounds a lot like the element of art called form, which is also three-dimensional and has depth. So they are similar. In space, if we're talking about a drawing or painting class, then the three-dimensional volume and that sense of depth is just that, a sense of depth. We're not talking about actual depth. If you do a painting that has depth, it's not like you can reach into it with your hand and pull something out of the background of the picture. We're creating the illusion of three dimensions, the illusion of depth. Here's some different ways to do that. We'll get to that in just a minute. There are two types of space, positive and negative. Positive space is the main figure or the main subject. The negative space is the area around, behind, between, or through the objects. So let's look at some examples of that. In this image, the positive space are the bones of the skeleton. The negative space is all this white space around it and between it and through those positive spaces. In this example, we've got negative spaces between the trees. The trees are positive space. The chairs are positive space. We might even consider this background building here negative space, even though it's like a solid object. It's not the main subject here. So I would consider, in this case, negative space for that building. Definitely the trees and the chairs are positive space, though. And how to create the illusion of depth? Well, if you're drawing or painting, you can use overlapping. That's a really easy thing to do. Also, if you have things that are higher up in the picture, then they tend to look further away. At the same time, you need to make those objects smaller, which will help them look further away. And lastly, with colors, cool colors recede. Recede means they tend to look further away. Warm colors pop out or stand out and tend to look closer. One more thing you can do with colors is fade them, not just by using cool colors, but adding white or gray to colors to make them look further away, or even neutralizing a color. For example, adding orange to blue will neutralize it, and that will help it stand out less. So back to this picture. This building in the background, if we were up close to it, it might look a lot more intense in color. Notice now how it's faded and it's a little bit blurry because it's far back. It's further back in the picture, and so that's going to make it look a little bit less clear and less defined. Also notice how these trees are bigger as they come closer to us, and they get further away as they get smaller. In this example, it shows a good example of how things that go higher up in the picture tend to be further away. So on this table surface, all these spheres are in a row, and the higher up they go on that table, it's making them appear further away. At the same time, they are getting smaller. At the same time, they're getting faded. So the farther away they get, they kind of just fade out. Using colors, you can make things look further away as well. What's the color here that stands out the most to you? It's probably this yellow color here that stands out the most because it's a warm color. All the other colors are either neutral or cool, which helps them not stand out as much. But notice the difference between this mountain here with these green colors and these mountains way back in the background or over here. Notice that these have more blue and less yellow. Yellow is a warm color, so even in this green, it has more yellow. That helps that stand out. Less yellow and more blue helps this look further away. Also, notice how it's faded. All right, if we went up to this mountain and we were really close to this mountain, it would look probably like this one does. But since it's far away from our vision here, it's more faded. It's got some white and blue coloration to it because it's far away. Also, it's obviously smaller and it's higher up in the picture. At least the base of this mountain is higher up in the picture than the base of this mountain. So those are some basic ways to create the illusion of depth in your drawings and paintings.